Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I am Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're gonna get into. I know it's pretty close. It is June here, roughly. If you're watching, and we haven't really got into 2026 U UAP UFO videos yet, and there's some interesting ones in this particular video that we have here for you today. A lot of them were early in the year, which is fine. So that's why it's kind of titled "So Far." There's going to be a lot more to come, but I think we found these to be pretty interesting, so we're going to go over that today.
Right on. Right on. As usual, I've not seen this video, so my responses will be authentic. And here goes everything.
A mass UFO sighting took over multiple cities across Brazil, quickly becoming one of the most discussed UFO incidents in the country in recent years. Throughout the evening, residents from different states began sharing videos of what appeared to be the same unusual object moving through the night sky. Across the videos, the UFO appears as a luminous, cigar-shaped object gliding rapidly through the sky. In total, 4 videos were shared online, each recorded in a different city at around 8 p.m. The first sighting was reported in Miguel Pereira, in the state of Rio de Janeiro. Shortly after, a similar object was filmed in the state of Goiás, nearly 600 miles away. The third and fourth recordings came from Ribeirão Preto and Ibitinga, both located in the state of São Paulo. Beyond these 4 videos, there were additional reports from at least 2 other Brazilian states, although no footage from those locations has surfaced so far. According to eyewitnesses, the object was flying low and fast, did not follow a steady route, and instead vanished abruptly without fading or slowing down. The sheer distance between each sighting raised immediate questions, with some speculating that the same object could not have traveled such vast distances in such a short time, which led some to believe these were separate sightings of similar UFOs. A common explanation put forward was that the phenomenon could have been related to a Starlink satellite launch.
That's what
However, many witnesses strongly rejected this theory. They noted that the object moved much faster than typical satellites, appeared significantly brighter, and was flying far lower than any satellite would. What made this case even more compelling was its connection to a previous incident that took place on August 9, 2025, when a similar cigar-shaped object was recorded in Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil. In that case, the object was filmed in broad daylight, offering a much clearer view of the UFO. Despite the many witnesses, recordings from different locations, and both daylight and nighttime footage, just like many similar cases involving cigar-shaped UFOs, this sighting remains unexplained.
That's a very interesting one. Honestly, and I gave you the timestamps. I didn't even look at the titles of this, but my first thought was like, is this like a Starlink as a satellite type of situation? That other video, I don't know where that was from. We're going to have to go back and look that one up maybe at like some point, the one in 2025. I don't think it's the same thing. It doesn't look like that to me. It looks like the other one was much further up. That other one looks like it was like 150 feet up from where those people were looking at something in like a similar shape. But, I would tend to think that, and again, I don't know if there was like any kind of provable, evidence of that Starlink being in that area at that time. If there's not, then that's pretty interesting footage, to be honest, because it was over a bunch of different states.
Over
Within
a bunch
the Brazil, not
within
in
Brazil,
the US.
right?
Yeah.
So over a bunch of different states in Brazil, and the footage for those listening on the podcast is definitely more cylindrical. I know the narration mentioned and described it, but it's definitely cylindrical in nature, and it's lit at night. So it's just like like a line that's flying through the sky. And obviously, again, as is it's been my commentary on these captured videos, is that of course the camera is pretty shaky, so we don't truly know exactly how fast or how slowly it moves through the sky, although there was at least one footage where it looked so uniform traveling through the sky, like a straight ass line, so that it does seem like it was a satellite versus anything that's that's extraterrestrial. Now,
Yeah, there
I
wasn't
did
any kind of weird movement like either.
no,
We've seen some stuff like that before. This definitely wasn't like that.
and the daytime shot though, that's I responded to that immediately as soon as I flashed on the screen. That was definitely it looked compelling,
Yeah,
uh,
I would say so.
but you're thinking it didn't look like the same thing.
No, not at all. I mean, and it wasn't just the fact that it was day versus night. It's like I'm just looking at the size comparison. So if you see something
Uh,
that's way up in the sky, that's
yeah,
that big, and has that type of it's probably going to be more like a satellite, at least in my opinion. The other one looked like maybe it was like 20 feet long, 10 to 20 feet long, and much closer to the ground uh, for that video. So I mean, it's certainly possible, and it is compelling. It is weird because satellites don't generally look like that in the sky. So I'm gonna give them that too. But we don't know how much focus that was on whatever, if they had their iPhone or
right,
really something else that made it look like it was bigger than it really was. It's kind of hard to
right.
say.
Yeah, that's what she said. But
Nah.
we'll go to the next part
Indeed,
here.
indeed.
This next sighting takes us to January 14th, 2026, in Pflugerville, Texas, where a mysterious object was captured completely by chance during a live stream. The streamer, known as Chicken Andy, was broadcasting when he and his viewers noticed a strange triangular formation of lights in the sky. Right away, Andy said the objects didn't look like planes, mainly because of how still the orbs appeared. At first, the formation looked like another classic TR-3B sighting, with 3 lights forming a triangle. But after watching for a bit longer, things started to get weird. The bottom left light slowly began drifting to the
Of
side
course it did.
and eventually
Oh.
faded out of view. This made it clear that it wasn't a single solid craft, but 3 separate objects. A few minutes later, the top light did the exact same thing, sliding to the left and fading away as well. What makes this case interesting is that Chicken Andy isn't a UFO researcher or enthusiast. His streams are usually about traveling, exploring, and meeting up with other streamers in real life. So this wasn't something he was actively looking for. Some people suggested the lights could have been military flares, but
Flares
that
are what I was
explanation
thinking.
doesn't fully add up. Flares don't usually stay perfectly still for several minutes and then move off one by one. Others suggested they might have been planes, but none of the lights showed blinking navigation patterns, remaining steady
Yeah.
the entire time they were visible. In the end, while drones and planes were mentioned as possible explanations, nothing truly fits the characteristics of the orbs seen in the video. Because of that, the origin of these strange objects over Pflugerville remains unexplained.
Um, drones or flares is kind of what I would think. Just
I,
looking at that, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I'm not as convinced that it is extraterrestrial. Again, it's tough to say and discern fully with just looking at this video, right? And just the first pass, but it also, I mean, what do you think? What are your thoughts about them being helicopters? That I mean, because the helicopters can stay in one spot for a good
I
period of
don't think
time,
they're
right? Military
I don't think they're
helicopters.
helicopters. No, I don't see that at all.
So they're closer to a drone, though, if I'm looking at something terrestrial.
A drone would be definitely where I would go with that for sure. But definitely not 100% sure. I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah,
The flare probably not, because I don't think that's kind of how they operate. They just sort of fall. They sort of fizzle out, and
yeah.
they don't stay in that. I agree. They don't stay in that formation quite the way that they do. Um, so I can see drone being kind of a good. And again, what would the military be doing? I'm not sure where Pflugerville is in Texas. I guess we have the ability to sort of look that up. I'm guessing it's around.
Pflugerville.
Yeah, where is
Pflugerville is,
around Austin or something?
and let's see, where the hell are you? Pflugerville. And so it's northeast of Austin.
Yeah, so it's
It
pretty close
actually,
to there.
yeah, it actually kind of looks like it might be like a far suburb of Austin.
Yeah,
Anyway,
there's lots of German stuff down there in that area, which is kind of interesting. But I would say it's got to be. I mean, it could be flares. It could be flares. It could be drones. It is interesting how it's so perfectly aligned in
yeah,
that triangle format. But the fact that it sort of went away, kind of has some flare footage to it, but I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't think that is extraterrestrial, but it is definitely
No.
compelling. It's weird, and I don't know, Chicken Andy. Really congrats for that footage. Just randomly found it. I expect that kind of stuff actually probably happens down in Texas a lot more than we really know.
And my final thought on this is that it's also possible that these are tops of 3 tower cranes. And when the tower crane moves it's what do you call that? The handle or whatever, then it could explain why all of a sudden it moved and separated. I don't know. I think there's
Maybe.
a lot more. I think there's a lot more possibility of this being terrestrial than extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I think your explanation is like wacko, but yeah, that's fine. We can
All
just roll
right,
with that.
here goes to the next wacko example.
This sighting happened in April 2025 over Moscow, Russia, but it only
That's a weird
really
edge
blew up
to it.
online in early 2026. The
Kind of
video
looks
shows a
strange.
strange saucer-shaped object moving across the night sky. What stands out right away is its lighting, with several lights that appear to be rotating around the craft and a much brighter green light glowing in the center underneath. There also seems to be a faint trail behind it as it moves, which only adds to how unusual it looks. Throughout the video, Russian air defenses can be seen repeatedly attempting to intercept or take down the UFO.
That's a
However,
drone.
according to official reports, despite numerous attempts, they were unable to bring the object down. Authorities claim the object was simply a Russian helicopter mistaken for a foreign craft. However, many people strongly disagree with this
I don't
explanation.
think so.
The light pattern doesn't match a helicopter at all, especially the idea of lights arranged around what would be the rotor area and a large green light on the underside. On top of that,
Keep saying
reports
green.
say the UFO didn't show up
What
on
the hell is
Russian
that green?
radar, which makes the helicopter theory even harder to believe. The faint trail
Yeah.
behind the craft is another detail that
Completely
doesn't really
orange
fit
red.
with normal helicopters.
Exactly.
Because of all these inconsistencies, the official explanation has been widely rejected online. Many now believe the footage could show a real UFO, or at least something far more advanced or unusual than a standard aircraft. Still, with limited information and no clear follow-up, the true nature of this object remains unknown, and it's very likely we'll never get a clear answer about what was really flying over Moscow that night.
I mean, that's a weird ass piece of footage. There's no doubt about it. It leads me to believe that it's not real. But maybe, and if it is real, it's probably a drone because there's a lot of drone warfare going on in that area, Russia and Ukraine, and maybe they did something to make it look like it was a UFO. If that makes any sense, like they're trying to make it look like that to sort of scare the population. To me, that was not a helicopter at all.
No,
That didn't
it was not a
look like
helicopter. What did you mean, that it wasn't real? Like it was AI?
It could be. It could be,
Mm.
because I've never seen anything that caused that type of, but it could. I guess it was a drone, and you're putting out smoke, and you have smoke stuff attached to it, and it's like make it look like that, and kind of weird, like a saucer, and you can have a light because it wasn't really moving that fast.
Well,
And they
again,
were shooting at it,
yeah.
so, and they're used to, I mean, that's where, like, the cutting edge of, like, warfare is actually happening right now is in that area, Ukraine, Russia, the whole drone, robot kind of stuff going on. That's where the future of warfare is actually happening. So I could see that, being something. I don't know who, like, which side, but, probably the, Ukrainians.
I don't know enough. I don't know enough from just that video footage to
That's
really.
weird. It's a weird.
It's weird, and I don't know. I think the narration said that the Russian army or the Russian Air Force tried to
Shoot
take
it
it down.
down. Yeah, it looked like they were trying to maybe, but I couldn't really tell that
Yeah,
for sure.
I can't really tell from just that footage. So that's the Moscow UFO sighting, and so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more digging on my end on that one. I'm
It's a
just
weird one for sure.
eh?
Yeah. It's a weird one for sure. There's, like,
Yeah,
no easy explanation.
correct. All right, here's the next one.
Now let's take a look at two very similar sightings that happened just one day apart. Because of how alike they are, there's a chance they could be connected. The first sighting happened on December 25th, 2025, over Sacramento, California. The video shows a bright light racing through the clouds at an insane speed. The object doesn't move like a plane or a helicopter at all. Instead, it darts across the sky and then suddenly vanishes behind the mountains, almost like it shut off or slipped out of view. The second sighting was recorded the very next day, on December 26th, this time in Clayton, North Carolina. Once again, the same phenomenon can be seen, but this time performing different kinds of maneuvers.
Oh, it is.
Both videos quickly went viral, pulling in over 6,000 likes and more than 1,000 comments. Among those comments, many people tried to make sense of the sighting, with the most common explanation being that the lights were simply powerful spotlights shining into the clouds. However, not everyone agreed with that explanation, pointing out that no light beams could be seen coming from the ground, which would normally be expected with spotlights. For such reasons, some believe the lights could be reflections caused by UFOs hidden within the clouds, or even cloaked objects moving above them. In the end, most skeptics brush both videos off as simple light projections, while others remain convinced there's something more going on. With no clear proof either way, both sightings are still unexplained.
I don't know. That was very interesting. It did kind of look like there was something on the ground doing that, but it seemed like it was moving so fast that it almost seemed unreal a little bit. But I mean, I guess they can do that nowadays with that kind of stuff, right? I don't know. I mean, you're more of the events guy, so
Well, I mean, I was about to say that there, I've seen laser shows be
okay,
that,
yeah,
that precise, A, and then B, where the source of the light or of the light is not very discernible even from a short distance. So some of the people were commenting that they couldn't see the light source from the ground, so they were dismissing it as as just a simple laser show or whatnot. I'm not convinced that it's extraterrestrial. It does not fit all, does not check off a lot of the other boxes for me.
yeah. There wasn't. I mean, at first I thought, okay, maybe when I first looked at it, like the first few seconds, like, oh, this is meteors. Maybe could be meteors. But then my mind went to automatically it's terrestrial from the ground because
Mhm.
there's like lots of cloud cover. It's low cloud cover, so you can do that kind of thing. To what extent or for what reason, I don't understand because they're in two different parts of the country.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they're trying to like, and also a lot of the first ones were like flying by. The other ones are more stationary, so it was kind of weird as far as that goes. They were doing different stuff. If they were doing like a light show, it was like definitely different. But again, if you got some fog, some low clouds,
Exactly.
it's kind of a tapestry. You can kind of do whatever you want with it. But yeah, I
E-
didn't say anything there to say that was definitely extraterrestrial.
Exactly. I mean, so far, the first one, the cigar-shaped one, is the one that's
The
been
most
the
interesting.
most
Yeah,
interesting and compelling. Let's
agreed.
see if this so cloaked Portugal cloaked UFO is the next portion here. And honestly, I just started hearing about cloaked UFOs
Oh yeah,
phenomenon.
yeah, yeah.
All right, here's the next one.
This next sighting took place on January 22nd, 2026, when a faint black shape was seen hovering in broad daylight. According to the witness, the object was very far away and barely visible at first, and they watched it for about a minute before recording. The witness also noted that after the short video ended, the object disappeared completely. The UFO was
Oh, there it
estimated
is.
to be
Yeah.
around 5 kilometers away, and at one point, they considered that it might be something like a tarp. However, for that to be the case,
A
it would have
tarp.
had to be absolutely massive to be visible from that distance. The object appears to have a triangular shape and looks almost semi-transparent. Even with heavy fog in the area, some details can still be made out, which only adds to how strange it looks. Additionally, the UFO doesn't appear to move erratically or behave like something being carried by the wind. The main explanation proposed was that the unidentified object could have been a murmuration of birds. However, the original poster strongly disagreed with that idea, arguing that from such a distance, a bird murmuration wouldn't even be visible in the video. Because of
Yeah, I
its
don't think so
unusual
either.
appearance, some people began to speculate that the object could have been a cloaked UFO. But with no additional footage and these two theories still colliding, the incident remains unexplained.
That whole bird thing, it does kind of move a little bit like that. You get a bunch of those little birds that kind of, like with fish in the sea, they sort of move together like a huge amount of them. And it looks like it's a really big thing that happens. I can see that. I mean, I can kind of see that being maybe a possible explanation, but I don't know about
Well,
that because it doesn't move like that. It moves all over the place, like sort of up and down, and
yeah,
that had definitely a downward trajectory.
eh,
Could it be
yeah,
close? I don't know, but
it seemed like it was kind of headed towards downward trajectory indeed. Uh, yeah, whether it's a murmury of birds or a huge swarm of bees, both scenarios really frightened the hell out of me.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Neither one are good. Yeah,
I don't know. First of all, if it is a cloaked UFO, like your technology UFO aliens should be actually more advanced than that. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
mean, if
that's
we
true.
can see it from like less than what is 5K? Is that less than like a couple of miles or something?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So I think I get what you're saying. It's like it's maybe more likely a human attempt at cloaking, which I can see that happening. Like they're I mean they've tried to do that. I mean
Eh,
it isn't
oh,
like
you mean military?
crazy. Yeah, military like
Ah,
trying to do that kind of thing. And
sure.
so that's the reason why it was coming down in that sort of easy trajectory to see.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's birds. I don't think it's bees, which is good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the birds and the bees, but I would say that it's probably more likely a human attempt at cloaking,
Right.
and or military, as you say, military attempt at cloaking rather than anything else. But where do they get that idea from, the technology from that they're trying to use to make that work? Could it be from extraterrestrials? Maybe.
Well, remember there was a disclosure by that former military guy,
Grush?
that where it was, basically he stated that there'd been some reverse engineering that's been
Oh
going on
yeah,
for
yeah,
years.
Grush. Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, and folks, let us know your thoughts in the comments. I mean, if did any of these jump out at you as compelling evidence of UAP so far for this year? Anyone in particular, or are they all bogus from in your eyes? Let us know. And if you enjoy this content, please subscribe. And on YouTube, hit that notification bell to help ensure that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.